Supervisor meeting for June 20th to order. Please rise and pledge allegiance to the flag. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please silence your cell phones. Okay, the first thing is approval of minutes for June 6th. Any additions or corrections to those minutes?
I make a motion the minutes be passed as presented.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carried. Department reports. Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening, Chief.
I apologize for only getting a report to you this morning, but we were still learning the new system, the records management system, and we're getting better and better at it as we keep using it. Nothing major on calls to report. There were 761 total to the department in May, 605 calls for service for east. 18 reportable crashes. 12 non-reportable crashes, 82 traffic citations issued, and 31 traffic warnings. As I stated in my report, I met with, actually Corporal Sizer had this contact, and I met with Corporal Sizer and Chaplain Jimmy Fannin of the Chaplains Corps of Lancaster County. This is a group that started a while ago in reference to providing chaplain services to first responders, fire, law enforcement, that type of thing. This group has kind of started out with the fire service, and they go to the more major calls, provide some services like bring water bottles and food if it's needed. They have some contacts with local mini markets and that kind of thing. And our chaplain recently retired from the department, so Corporal Sizer thought this might be a way we could go. After speaking with him and his presentation, I think that's what we're going to do as a department. They also, if necessary, have training in just basically talking to first responders one-on-one, and then if they need some help or just want somebody to talk to, that type of thing. So it seems like a really good group. They have a tremendous amount of training, which is very important, and it's basically going to be a phone call to the chief chaplain when we need them, and he'll send the resources that we think we need. So I think it'll be a good program to utilize. Hopefully we don't have to utilize it very often, but if we do, it's there for us. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Any questions of the chief? Okay, thank you, Chief. Zoning Officer, Tony.
Yes, good evening, everybody. You should have a copy of my report. I will keep it brief, but once again, another busy month in the zoning department. We had 44 new applications, 55 permits issued, 24 in review, and 20 for pickup. That did include 20 new single-family homes in the township for the month of May. We did have 17 false alarms, which is another record for the township for a month. I did have one new zoning hearing case for the month of May. Mr. Dale Martin was requesting a special exception pursuant to section 220-12F to permit livestock housing within 101 feet of an adjoining property. Property is over on Naperville Road. It's zoned agricultural, and the decision was granted with conditions. No new applications for June or for July. As you can see, zoning and code enforcement, we had quite a few this month, and also other items. One thing that I will point out that isn't on the list for the board's sake, we did receive a building permit application for Members First Federal Credit Union today. So they're proceeding forward as usual. Other than that, I will be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions, Tony?
Dan Burton, did we get the paperwork from that group home?
Name, please.
Dan Burton, sorry.
Oh, yes, Mr. Burton, I did. In fact, The very day that we got the phone calls, I believe it was a Thursday, that evening, I did have emails and faxes to the township with their state certificate of operation and licensing. So yes, they are compliant with the township regs to run O2 operating group homes.
Okay. Is, one other question if I may. Is there any, this month or this next couple months, somebody with autism, is there anything that keeps them from doing a rehab type group home, or do they need to notify local police department if it's somebody rehabilitating from some criminal action, or?
Well, I'll review the ordinance. Under group home, it doesn't get that specific with the types of people that can or cannot be there. Okay, I'll double check with our solicitor and with what the ordinance says. I can't give you a definitive answer, yes or no, right now.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm just curious if they needed to
Yeah.
notify the township before they were to change to a more significant type of rehabilitation.
I'll make a note and I will follow up with you. I have your contact information. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Yes, thank you.
List of bills.
Okay. You have a total general fund of $46,437.54. A total state fund of $4,300.22. And a total capital reserve fund of $1,599. Questions? I'll make a motion to pay the bills as presented.
I'll second the motion. Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Land planning.
This is Mr. Gerald Clay for you again tonight. It's actually a very basic one. It's from Mount Zion Baptist Church, and the motion is to accept a written 90-day time extension offer as submitted by the applicant's consultant dated June 7, 2019, which will extend the deadline for action on the Mount Zion Baptist Church final land development plan until September 22, 2019.
Is anybody here representing that plan? I don't think so. Okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, the next thing you have is I'm looking for my motions, so that's put up here. Next item is a waiver request. It is related to Members First. Members First did submit a LERTA application earlier this week. I forwarded it on to Tony today, so we will start processing it. As a condition of the LERTA application, what was discussed before the board, that also provides the opportunity for the applicant to submit a waiver of park and rec fees. They are submitting that waiver of park and rec fees. So the motion is to waive section 194-46B3, park and recreation fees for the Members First Land Development Project on Denver Road due to the applicant entering the LERTA program.
No second. Anybody here for that? No. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Holding tank maintenance agreement.
So Chair, you have that agreement before you. This is a routine agreement that we have for all holding tanks. It's for 990 Smokestown Road, Denver, PA. And has been reviewed and acceptable to our SCO. And the motion is to authorize signature of the holding tank agreement for 990 Smokestown Road.
Anybody here representing that? Okay.
I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Old business. Traffic calming in North Williamstown Road.
I do have some price quotes, but I'm not prepared to present them, so that would be at our next July meeting. What I would like to do with the roadmaster is actually go out and spray paint potential locations so that we can have discussions with the property owners and meet you around those locations. They are running about $1,500 a speed hump that would go across the street. So we are looking at 4 speed humps.
Scott, can you take photos of those when you do that, so we can put them up so people can see exactly where they are? Thank you.
MS4.
Really not too many New MS4 updates at this point. Mr. McRae's been very busy going around, actually starting to inspect facilities to meet the June 30th deadline that we have at this point for inspecting our first region that we're working on. We did have a meeting today with the property owners of the Rose Hill Basin. That is, if you recall, one of our other projects in the pollution reduction plan, and that is going to involve the retrofit of that basin. We will also be taking action later in new business concerning an agreement for design and permitting for our Reamstown Park project, for the stream bank project. And I said that's going to be new business. That was driven by a meeting with DEP that we had the other day, where we kind of have the green light now to move on the plans of the project, and I'll go into greater detail at that time. I don't know, Ken, if you have anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah, we split the township up into 4 areas. The first area had only about 20 facilities that we needed to inspect, and I'm down to about 3 that still need to be done, one of which is an absentee landlord in Brooklyn who we haven't heard from. This is not new. We've had that problem in the past. Sent them a letter today that goes out with the certified mail saying that, you know, if I don't hear from you in 10 days, we're going to go visit the district justice.
Good. Thank you, Ken.
There's one other person that I don't have the phone number for, just a small basin on a single lot in a subdivision. I was out there, my car out the door, I wrote a note on it, still haven't heard from them, so I'll go visit them again. Other than that, we've either gotten them all done or have appointments to do.
Thank you, Ken. Okay, moving on next, fire and EMS.
Mr. Chair, this is a standing item that we have on our agenda. It was a fire chief meeting with myself the other day. We did get a list together of items that we're going to make a grant request with John Sly, who has done a number of successful grants for fire companies in the Lancaster area. Very productive meeting. There was also an expressed interest that possibly moving forward with a study that was presented. We're still going to have to flush out some more details. The concern that departments did raise is that if a study is done, that doesn't then sit on a shelf, which I think is a valid concern. So I think if all parties, the township and the fire companies agree, there's going to be a willingness to actually implement what's in the study on all sides. So I think that would kind of, as I'm seeing some nodding of heads right from the back there, that was the general consensus of all 3 fire companies. So they're willing to entertain it. We still got to flush out the scope of work. But then everybody needs to agree that we're actually going to do something that comes out of that study if we go forward with it. And the study that we used with East Hempfield was some rather modest goals. So it's not something that's like earth-shattering or taking the township on a 180-degree new direction at this point. So that's where we stand with those. I do want to encourage the board now to have a little bit of a discussion about EMS so that we can kind of get moving on the request for reimbursement that the Reamstown EMS has made to the township. So I'll kind of turn that one over to you guys.
Sure. Do you want to talk about the reimbursement specifically, or do you also want me to bring in the meeting that we had?
I think you need to talk about the meeting because it's interrelated to the reimbursement, because that's what you guys are looking to do.
Yeah, that's fine. So for the rest of the board's information, on June 11th, we met with Blake Dobb, we met with, from Denver, we met with Mike Hessian, and Scott Elke was present, myself and Mr. Russell. During that meeting, the original purpose of that meeting was to discuss a transition of Reamstown Ambulance into a separate entity, such that we could get that separated out, discuss with Denver, Denver's possible contribution to the ambulance itself. And that was the original intent. During the meeting, some of the fundamental premises that we had, some of the fundamental thoughts that we had for over 5 months or so working on EMS had changed. Specifically, what had changed was that I sensed a lot of hesitation from Reamstown in terms of wanting to separate the ambulance out. Okay. So where we are right now is that there is hesitation to separate the ambulance out. And which really was quite a change from what we were working towards for the last 5 or 6 months or so. So as a result, I think it's fair to say we're probably close to back to square one at this point. I'm looking at you because you were there, and that's my impression of the meeting. So that's the background on that meeting. So where we are now also is we do have the request from Reamstown for, let me pull up the number specifically. Bear with.
I broke it mine, but then I changed the screen.
No, that's all right, you can change it. Let me see if I find it. So I can write about how Doug's going to make fun of all my notes being on the web, on the cloud.
Oh, look through paper, look through the web.
All right, so where we stand right now is there's a request for reimbursement for EMS to the amount of, there it is. Okay, so this is apparently Reamstown Fire wrote a check to the Ephrata Community Hospital on February 28th for services that were labeled and itemized as total wages and employee benefits. The wages amount was $18,858.68. The total employee benefits portion was $6,437.02 for a total amount due of $25,295.70. So that was the information, and then there was a copy of that check there, and that was the information they presented to us for reimbursement in terms of funding them, which we have in the budget, which we agreed to at $96,000 for the year. I think where we're at right now is, again, my position on this, and I'm saying this now openly and to the public, is there's a number of questions I have about the invoice. Those questions have not been answered. The $25,000 is a substantial amount of money that of course, we've agreed to it, it's in the budget, but from an audit perspective from the state for us as East Cocalico Township, we don't even have a copy of the contract between Ephrata Community Hospital and Reamstown Ambulance. I think at a bare minimum, we at least need a copy of that contract. Okay?
I thought we had an agreement they would do separate quotes for the ambulance. Didn't we have that agreement back in January?
I don't know if it was necessarily agreed, but what was discussed was that eventually Reamstown EMS would be its own entity, but the concern that was raised at that time was that the township was going to need to be willing to step up and help fund the difference. The desire was not to spin them off and then watch them completely fail. The township has now, as I understand your will of the board, you have committed to fill the gap of Reamstown EMS. So that goal, as I've understood the three of you state to me, is that the Reamstown EMS needs to be put on a pathway of becoming its own nonprofit entity, which in the East Cocalico Township Board of Supervisors and East Cocalico Township will assist with it making up its funding shortfalls.
Correct.
That's how I've understood your position today.
No, that's absolutely correct.
Yeah, that's it.
So, I mean, what we have to decide to do right now is, as being fiduciarily responsible to East Cocalico. The way I look at it is, we are about to write a check for $25,000 of the public's money, and realistically, all we have is 2 line items on a bill and a copy of a check. I personally believe that is irresponsible of me to do that as a fiduciary to the township. I think we at least need a minimum of a copy of the contract they have with Wellspan. So that's my position.
Well, having sat through more of the audits than I'd like to think about with the state, they're very thorough, very detailed, and they're gonna wanna know where every dime goes. Very, very detailed. They will pin you down for a penny. I do not disagree with what Romeo is saying. I think that would be the bare bones. A copy of a contract that we can lay on the table in front of the auditor when they show up here for their 3-day audit. And we say, here's what we signed on for. We did commit $96,000 in our budget. We're willing to pay, but I had said from the very beginning, I'm not just gonna write a check just because someone says we need money. I too wanna see how that money's being spent so I can justify to the auditor, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to jail for something. I'm just not gonna do it. I have to sign the checks. So it's gotta be done in the right format. And the first thing in the format is the contract. I wanna see what they signed on for, so that we can reimburse them and know that we're all on the up and up. So, long-winded explanation, just echoing what RC said.
I agree.
So, you know, we're at a crossroads now in terms of, we absolutely have agreed, it's in the budget, we are going to support Reamstown Ambulance. But I think in number one, in fairness to the township and fairness to the taxpayers, and to meet our fiduciary obligation, we at least at a bare minimum need a copy of that contract first. So I don't think we can write, I personally do not believe we can write that check without a copy of that contract. That's my opinion.
Well, as I just got done saying, I'm not gonna sign anything because my name's on the hook then too. So we committed, we'd help them and we will. We're not gonna let Reamstown stick. We're not gonna do that. We have the money set in the budget. Produce a contract. It's pretty easy. And if you don't have one, well, then we need to talk.
So I think the guidance for you, Scott, is, again, express, we are absolutely willing to help and write that check. We just need that bare bones document.
And what's the desire of the board, Reamstown EMS stays part of the fire company or eventually becomes its own entity?
For sake of the township moving forward, it's a little tough when you start commingling the money because, as I said, that auditor is going to come in here and he's going to pick it to pieces. And if I can't prove where the money's spent, I'm looking out in the audience and I see a handful of people in the fire company. You guys are going to have to prove it. And good luck. I'm not being smart. I'm just telling you the facts of life. I think the best entity would be to separate the two so they have their own set of books. There's no commingling of funds, there's none of that. That would be my desire, put it that way.
For auditing purposes, I agree with Doug.
Now, just from a timing perspective, they're not going to spin off an EMS
No.
company quickly.
No.
So you guys are committing to continue forward with funding while this is still being worked
Yes.
on?
Absolutely, absolutely.
We needed the contract though, at least.
I think what we need to lay out is, I think there needs to be a timeline and a plan as to how and when that's going to happen. That needs to be very, very clear. We need to get that. We need to get the scope of work defined. An absolute agreement on, are they spinning off? What's the timeline? They're the experts. They're very familiar with it. You know, as Doug says, you're the fire and EMS guys out there. You're more familiar with it than I am. You're the professionals. I look to you guys as the subject matter experts. You got to let us know what is the timeline you need for something like that to happen. And I think that's our next step also.
Just a quick question. Getting back to the start of this conversation, are you saying that Denver does not want to have anything to do with it?
Absolutely not.
No.
We never commented either way on that.
I don't think anybody said that, Brian.
Okay. I mean, with the meeting that you had with Denver, I was just...
I think they're willing to contribute. They also just want to know what Green Sun EMS staff is going to be too.
Okay.
They're willing. My impression, my personal impression was there was positive response to them willing to contribute. They're wanting to see what the final design is going to look like.
Okay.
Does that answer your question?
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yep.
I think they contacted us, didn't they, about it?
They kind of, I initiated the conversation with Mike Ashton, so it wasn't they came out of the blue.
But I mean, they were reciprocated.
They were very, very, very willing to listen after we started the conversation. We've been including Denver Borough on this since January. So it's not, this wasn't new to them. Just the meeting to make the ask was new.
Okay. Should we move on to wood waste?
Really, at this point, this will come off full business. We've now gone 2+ months without any incidents with cards. We have had a temporary card that we've allowed people to have when they bring a truckload of cardboard, where they can swipe the gate, drop the cardboard off, and return the card. For the most part, most residents they stop at the gate. For the very few that are dropping cardboard off, they'll walk it to the container, or more and more people are just starting to put it curbside, which is, I mean, you could put a truckload of cardboard curbside and they're obligated, it's unlimited pickup. It might take a while to pick some of it up, so I wouldn't recommend somebody doing that, but it is unlimited curbside pickup, so more and more residents are just taking advantage of that. It's just old habits kind of die hard, like when you can walk it to your curb versus throwing it in the vehicle. But we have to facilitate with that. I could say that's probably happening maybe once or twice a month, where somebody's doing that. It's usually actually a business that's dropping cardboard. So it has cut down on our illegal dumping, and we still see contractor vehicles turning around in the week, even a couple months later. So that I'll be taking that off the agenda going forward as I close out.
Yep.
Civic Plus website.
And if you want to look behind you, this is, as we had rolled out, this will go live next week. It still has a little bit of work in progress, but now going forward, it'll be Lisa making updates to it. It is very cell phone friendly, so when you pop into your cell phone, it looks like what you would expect to see on a smartphone, where our old website, it looks like you're looking at a website on a cell phone, so it's really slick with that. I've looked at it before, it's got the banner news page. We will eventually flip one of these to be Stony Point Park. We do have the quick links, where before we had 4 quick links, now we've got police pass collector, we put minutes and agenda, our ever-present stormwater ordinances up front, Greenstown Pool, our authority, reporting a concern, Stony Point Park, and signing up for e-alerts for people that want to get notices of meeting changes and things like that. Has the calendar up front, and it's very intuitive to pick on what's immediately upcoming meetings. Any night that has a township meeting, it is all highlighted on the calendar. We do have news, which Lisa's already started populating some news items on here. We have a volunteer section, which again, we mentioned Stony Point Park, and visit some of these. How do I? And you can go here and you can pick some of the more common things that people request. Obviously, contact us, and if there's any legal notices, such as a rezoning request or something like that, that would be where we would now put it on the website. Some new things that we actually have a residence and a business page now, where you can pick up, and there's each one of those has things that are applicable to businesses and residents. Eventually, that will get populated with a lot more information, but it actually has a decent amount now already there. We have all of our boards and committees in here. And then this is kind of called departments and agencies. Again, it's just another way of people as they kind of look at things. They can, if they want to send division, land process, police department again. So there's a lot of redundant places. You'll see the police department in 3 or 4 different places on the website. So the person's looking in one way or a different way, they're going to find them multiple different ways at this point. Also, we have defined fast, which is actually kind of neat. What that does is that auto-populates. So as people, say we have a lot of people applying for building permits, that will, under the apply for, populate building permits. If for some reason people don't apply for building permits or want more information on the website, it will drop off in another item that will pop up into there. So it does the most frequent items that people are seeing. It's actually, again, pretty slick process. It does require some manual input from Lisa, but you get to see on that page what are the top pages, and that's what you put there. So it is really going to improve the communication with the township. It is much more in a smart format in terms of with smartphones and with tablets, which a lot more people are using nowadays than laptops.
And this website is going to be much more timely in terms of what's occurring within the township than the old website was.
Yeah, before we would have a little bullet line with somebody to click. We have a nice picture, we can have an explanation as to what they're clicking and why. So it just is going to be much more effective way they communicate. And like I said, it's much more intuitive when somebody's trying to find information than where the old system was.
This is the biggest benefit. A lot of people use these today.
Yeah.
And the old one wasn't working.
The old one did not work on cell phone at all.
Nope.
So we've gotten ourselves up to the 21st century with our website now. So it took a while. So this, like I said, will go live next week when Lisa's back.
Great.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're going to recess now for an executive session for personnel matters.
Where do you want to go?